Well, hello, everyone. Happy Friday. We did it. We made it through another week. And now it's time to kick up our feet, have a couple of drinks, and watch a woke video from start to finish. Because those are the types of masochists that we are here on my channel. But I have got a really, I I just have a feeling, I have a suspicion that this is going to be next level today. Don't worry, we're going to get our bingo cards out. I will put the link in the chat in a second. Check this out. I don't know why I haven't done a schools investigation stream of San Francisco yet. Maybe I'll do that this weekend to celebrate the wrapping up of the Schools Exposed crowdfunding program, which we'll talk more about in a second. I don't know why it hadn't occurred to me to look at the San Francisco, California school districts yet. But maybe this happy hour will inspire us to do so because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and yes, I will use gendered pronouns if I damn well feel like it, Disney, we are going to be watching an anti-racism town hall from the University of California, San Francisco. And this town hall, you can tell on the screen, took place but 1 month ago. It has got less than 100 views on it. I will get more views on this town hall today than the Diversity and Equity Office at the University of California at San Francisco has gotten on it in the last month. And there's and I take some pride in that. There's some consolation in that, isn't there? Because even though they're doing this crazy anti-racist shit and they're putting it online, no one's really watching it except for insane people like us that enjoy, I don't know, hurting ourselves or making ourselves cringe or all of those things. That's what we do here on Happy Hour, guys. We watch a woke video from start to finish. We don't watch the clips. We don't just wait for the cringy bits. We watch it from start to finish. We analyze it. And this is an opportunity for us to understand what the woke left are really up to. And I am firmly convinced, I'm not even joking when I say this, that the people who watch Happy Hour on a regular basis are some of the most smartest. That's not a word. I know I've just undercut the sentence I'm about to say. I understand that. The people who watch Happy Hour on a regular basis are the smartest, most well-informed people about what the woke left is doing in the country. I really do believe that. I really do believe we are a small but mighty group of people who have taken the time to listen, taken the time to dissect, taken the time to analyze. We have taken, over the last 2 years, thousands of hours of our lives, and we have probably watched more of these videos than anyone else in the world. I'm pretty sure I'm at least in the top 5 in terms of most watch hours of this bullshit in the world. So we do try to make it fun on Happy Hour. I think we're gonna have a cringy old time today. Let me just get our bingo card up real quick before I space on this, because we do play Unwoke Bingo on Happy Hour. Let me put it in the chat. There you go. How Unwoke Bingo works is you just generate your card, follow that link, generate the card. Every single card is different. You get a free space in the middle, and then we're going for lines or we're going for corners. If you get a bingo, then shout it out in the chat. You don't win anything, but we will give you a healthy round of applause and celebrate your victory. And then we go for Blackout Bingo. Now, Blackout Bingo has yet to actually occur on Happy Hour. We have gotten Blackout Bingos before, but it wasn't for an official Happy Hour. It's for a video on my other channel about the Portland, Oregon school districts. Of course, it would have been Portland that provided us with a Blackout Bingo, but we haven't yet gotten one on Happy Hour, and I think today might be a good day for it. I just have a good feeling. Deborah, I hope you have a wonderful celebration, pizza celebration birthday with your husband. Well done. So guys, get your bingo card. I think it's going to be a great day for it. Now, a couple things before we get started. Number 1, just a reminder for my locals community, our Communist Manifesto book club is tomorrow. Bing! If you have not read it yet, there's still plenty of time to, because it's really, really short. You can read this in like a sitting. So it's a little dense, but you can read it in a sitting. So you still actually do have plenty of time if you haven't done your homework yet, you haven't eaten your vegetables yet. I'm looking at you, bot. You still have plenty of time to read it. And join us for a nice discussion of the Communist Manifesto tomorrow in my locals or Patreon community, whichever you support on. Either is fine. And you can find this for free on the internet, bot. This is like publicly available. It's in the public domain. So don't make any excuses. Doesn't cost you a thing. You can even listen to someone read it on YouTube. There are any number of ways that you can consume the information in this document. We need to know what the enemy is doing, okay? And what the enemy is thinking. And this is going to be a great companion for Socialism Saturday, which I am planning on doing tomorrow. So Socialism Saturday will be on my main channel tomorrow, probably around 6 p.m. ish. But how great would it be to read the Communist Manifesto, discuss the Communist Manifesto at 3 o'clock, and then go right into Socialism Saturday? It'll be like a whole day of socialism. We're a little crazy on this channel. I understand that. So how do you get invited to book club? Well, you do have to be a supporter of some sort in my community. You can be in my Patreon anywhere from $5 a month all the way up to $250 a month, depending on what perks you want and how much you like me on any given day. You can get some great perks, including stickers and this. I fucking love this t-shirt. This is like my favorite t-shirt. I don't know why, I don't know why this is like not as like popular with other people as it is with me, but I don't really care because I think it's great. You can get the Mad Hatter giving out the Red Pill t-shirt. I do have another t-shirt coming out next week, just so you guys know. You guys are going to love the t-shirt I've got coming out next week. Anyway, if you don't want to join on Patreon, that's totally cool, man, because I've got other options. You can become a member of my Locals community. Locals is probably the most ideal place to become a supporter of my work. You can join for $5 a month, $50 a year. You can also make a one-time gift. My Locals community is probably where I am the most active. We do 2 weekly Zoom calls every single week on Mondays at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at noon. You can also get access to those Zoom calls if you are a supporter on Patreon. I don't discriminate between the two platforms. I just know that some people like Patreon, and Patreon's got some good features that I like, and some people like Locals, and whichever is clever. But Locals does have a little bit more activity going on in it. So if that's what you're looking for, I would definitely recommend that. And you can also actually join my Substacks as well. I do have my Substack content is all completely free. Robert, why are you swearing? This is chill time, Robert. We have 2 rules in the chat on my channel. Number 1 rule is don't be a dick. Number 2 is no whining. And Robert, to be honest, right now, you seem to be breaking both rules of the chat. You seem to kind of be being a dick, and you also seem to kind of be whining. So I would just like you to rein it in, dude. Just rein it in. Chill. It's Friday. Relax. Get a drink. We're going to talk about beer in a second. See, this is how it should work. This is, Robert, thank you for your apology. This is how it should work. You know, you're welcome to stay. Thank you. All right, guys. So that's how you can become a supporter in my community, and you can join us for book club tomorrow. And I think it's going to be a great one. I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. But the last thing I wanted to talk about before we get started is this is the last weekend of the official crowdfunding campaign for Schools Exposed. And I'm really excited to announce that just today we've broken $14,000. How amazing is that? That is 140% of the initial goal that I set for this, but 60 days ago. There's still 3 more days to participate. The crowdfunding campaign will shut off on Monday, and you're still going to be able to join after that, okay? I'm still going to do kind of like whatever Indiegogo does in terms of like between when the crowdfunding campaign ends and the program actually comes out. There is going to be like a nice latent like you can still participate, you can still get some perks. I'm going to leave that up. We'll talk about that next week, but I really want to do a nice big push for the last couple of days. And here's the thing I'm going to announce tomorrow. Every single gift over $50 that is made between today, Friday, and the close of the crowdfunding campaign, for every single gift over $50, I will donate a scholarship for someone who might want to join the Schools Exposed program, but maybe doesn't have the resources to do it. Because when the Schools Exposed program does launch, I am going to be charging for it. I'm going to charge a one-time fee of $99, and that's to make sure I can maintain the technology for the Schools Exposed program. That's also to cover my time being an admin for it. It's to cover my time doing monthly live sessions and stuff like that. I feel very strongly that we need to start making activism entrepreneurial. So there is, like, I'm trying to make this something that is self-sustaining, but also provides me a way to help 10,000 parents learn how to find out what the schools are teaching their kids. So if you want to get involved in that, there are perks at all different levels. And of course, all gifts and donations are welcome. You can make gifts that are less than $50. The reason I'm setting the limit at $50 in terms of me donating a scholarship is that's the entry level price point to get a spot in the program right now. So that's going to be the deal for the weekend. For every single gift I get, over $50, I'm going to donate one scholarship myself. And so we can try to make as room for as many parents in the program as we possibly can. If you want more information about that, let me just get my handy dandy banner here. You can head over to unwokearmy.com/parents. What's that going to happen is that's going to redirect you over to the Indiegogo campaign. So you can watch the video that I posted about it. So you learn a little bit more about the program that I'm building, why I'm doing it, what I hope to achieve with it. And of course you can make your gift. And if you don't have the resources to do it right now, that's totally fine. I totally understand. Not everyone is in a financial position to do so. But if you don't have the resources, could you please share it? Could you please tell your friends and family about it? Post it on your social media, share it out to your communities, talk about why you think this sort of thing is important. And that would really help me out as well. And I really, really, really do appreciate it. Robert says, just so you know, I have serious issues with socialism, so maybe I'll learn something. Robert, we don't like socialism either. We watch it to learn what they're doing. So you're among friends, my friend. You're among friends. We just like to keep things nice because listen, the content that we watch on Happy Hour and on Socialism Saturdays, it pisses us off too. We have feelings about it, but we watch it to understand what they're doing so we can best fight back against it. So you're among friends, relax, and we're going to have a good time. All right, guys, the very last thing I have before we get started is, of course, I have to show you what beer I have for today. I just got back from the beer store about an hour ago, and I've got some nice fruity beers today. Bot, you're going to love one of them. Hang on one second. Let me get into my little cooler. All right. The first beer for today, I had to get this one. I had to. It's called I Love Boobs. It's from Pipe Dream Brewing in Londonderry, New Hampshire, and it's called I Love Boobs. And this is actually kind of nice, okay? This is nice. It says, we're fans of large melons here at Pipe Dream Brewing. So we took watermelon candy and mixed in some blackberries. Did my power just go out? What the fuck? Hang on. Stand by. It's heard me talking about beer, and it's like, no. Oh, come on, light. Sometimes my light just flickers a little bit. It's my grandfather saying hello when the lights go out, I think. But okay, we're back in business. Nope, power's not out. Okay, let me start reading again. We're fans of large melons here at Pipe Dream Brewing, so we took watermelon candy and mixed in some blackberries for fun to create a special sour ale dedicated to increasing breast cancer awareness. To go a step further, we will be donating a portion of all the proceeds to help find a cure. So drink up and help us save some boobs. Pipe Dream Brewing. How great is that? So that's going to be our first beer for today. Now, our second beer, the lollipop beer, is back, Bot. This one's for Bot. Bot likes the lollipop beer. Now, I've had two different versions of the lollipop beer before. I've had the pink and yellow version, which was my favorite. And all I have to name it is the color on the can because they don't have names. So I had the pink and yellow version, which was my favorite. The pink and blue version was a little meh, if I'm honest about it. So this is the pink and green version. I haven't had it yet. This is called Liquid Lollipop, and it is watermelon, blueberry, strawberry, and kiwi. That pink and yellow version was pretty good, though, I have to say. The next beer I have, Oh, Deborah says, so is there a beer to help raise funds for ovarian cancer? Well, we should look into that, Deborah. I maybe should make a suggestion. You know, when I ran the Boston Marathon, I ran it in 2014 and 2015. I raised over $10,000 for innovative cancer research. So to be serious for a second, like cancer research, like and helping to find a cure for that is actually something I care about. It's something I've raised a lot of money for, and so I really do like the Pipe Dream Brewing is doing this. I think that that's kind of nice. All right, our third beer is from Blaze Brewing Company, and this is in Maine. And this is called Blazing Love. Look at that can. It's so inventive. And it is a blueberry cobbler pastry sour. Blueberry cobbler in a beer. What a time to be alive. Our last selection for today. No, I don't drink all 4 beers on stream, just so you know. But the beer ring comes in 4. So if you're gonna get beer, you might as well get 4, right? The last one is from Chaplin, Maine, and it is called Little Bunny Foo Foo, and it is a strawberry sour. I had to get it because it was called Little Bunny Foo Foo. All right, guys, so those are our choices for today. Now, per our happy hour tradition, I am going to put a poll in the chat, and so you can vote on which beer I start with. Again, we have I Love Boobs, we have Lollipop, we have Blazing Love, which is a blueberry cobbler. And then we have Little Bunny Foo Foo, which is a strawberry sour. Please go ahead and lock in your votes in the chat. And we'll get this party started in just 1 second. I suspect Boobs is going to win, if I'm honest about it. I know you guys. You guys are heads in the gutter. Always got to have a dirty mind. I know you guys and your habits. All right, let me just get this up. And I will get this all set up so we can get started. Who is excited about watching the University of California, San Francisco anti-racism town hall? I know I am. If you're drinking something interesting, let us know what you're drinking in the chat. Let's see. Reagan voted for cobbler. I'm interested in that cobbler one, I have to say. See, Robert, I told you you'd fit right in. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Mary. Absolutely. Oh, Cider's here. Hey, Cider. My county Cider, by the way, smartest person on Twitter, and he's like in high school. My county gets grants estimated around $3 million, depending on how many students, and God damn it! Depending on how many students with parents in federal government fill it out. I told the teacher I wasn't going to fund the equity program, and he got mad. Oh my God, Cider. Don't piss off your teacher, dude. But good for you for standing up for what you believe in. Yeah, I know. I know you guys are voting for I Love Boobs just to support breast cancer awareness. I'm sure it's all an issue that is near and dear to your heart. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's just call it. Boobs won with 62% of the vote. Like, it's not even close. So now let's see. Actually, let me get up on the big screen. Let's see what it looks like. Oh God, I can smell the watermelon from here. Oh, nice and pink. Oh, look at how pretty. Look at how pretty. And I also do want to make sure I acknowledge Murphy's Pool super chat. Hang on. I saw it. Sorry, Murphy's Pool. Murphy's Pool says socialism is awesome. Peroni time. Murphy's Pool drinks his Italian water beer. That's okay because I've got my I Love Boobs watermelon beer. Cheers, everyone. Happy Friday. It's a little bit more sour than I thought it would be, but I enjoy it. Well done, Pipe Dream Brewing. Well done. All right, guys, let's get this show started. Mount the like button if you are ready to watch an anti-racism town hall from the communist capital of California.
Thanks for joining us today for the UCSF Anti-Racism Town Hall. Before we begin, please note that we are dedicating time during today's session to answer your questions. We know that the topics we cover are very important, and we appreciate your engagement, but please be mindful of our UCSF pride values and be respectful in your comments in the Q&A. We will try to answer as many questions as we can during the time allotted.
This is a town hall.
Thank you very much.
And you guys know how I love it when
Now
they
it's
ask
my pleasure
questions.
to introduce Suresh Gunasekaran, President and CEO of UCSF Health.
Good afternoon, everyone. So glad that you could join us. I'm going to start with
land acknowledgement.
Land like acknowledgement. The Ramaytush Ohlone people, who are the traditional custodians of this.
Congratulations to everyone who just got that square on bingo.
Ramaytush Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place, the land that UCSF sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ramaytush Ohlone community for their stewardship and support. And we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding.
But people in the chat are asking where Sin's wrench is. Sin didn't get a wrench taken away. This is just a different channel. I'm happy to give Sin a wrench. Hang on, I'll give Sin a wrench. There now, so I'm not always good about keeping my moderators like the same on both my channels. That's just what it is. It's no shade to Sin. I don't care if she has a wrench or not. If anyone else wants a wrench, let me know, and I will decide based on how many times I've seen you in the chat. I don't mind giving out wrenches though. If people want to feel special and have a nice symbol by their name, and as long as you're not timing people out willy-nilly, bot.
Town Hall will highlight progress that we've made in the UCSF anti-racism initiative.
Wait, Sin, you can be the same level of funny.
With a special focus
you don't have to hold back.
And our climate.
I can take the wrench away.
UCSF leaders,
yes, Trendle, and you can have a wrench.
Vice Chancellor Navarro, as well as special guest speaker Tricia Rose of Brown University. Before we begin, I'd like to share what I see as a couple of areas of anti-racism opportunity within the health system. At UCSF Health, we're in the business of providing care. We're measuring our outcomes, and we know there continue to be disparities by race and ethnicity. So the question becomes, how do we provide care that's equitable? How do we address these disparities?
Why are your doctors racist?
An area of opportunity for us is how...
Technical difficulties.
An area of opportunity for us is to look at how we deliver care. We've been focused on this. What can we do to ensure that we're providing equitable care to all of our patients? Is it culturally appropriate? Are we going into the community? Our Health Equity Council, in collaboration with many other groups, is working on this across multiple fronts. We're also looking internally at behavior, because behavior directly affects the patient experience, which influences outcomes. In terms of behavior, we all know that patient care is a team endeavor. How people on the team treat our patients is so important. And equally important is how people on the team treat one another.
I love how
this is the climate and culture in which we work.
I love how people at the University of California at San Francisco Health just openly, without even really giving it a second thought, accuse the people that they work with of being racist. Isn't it amazing? Like, we are literally watching a statement from a month ago where they're literally accusing staff members at the University of California, San Francisco, of being racist willy-nilly on the internet. And they're like, it's natural to be racist. It's just the way it is. We have to help you be anti-racist. It's like, bro, what? Seriously?
Work. And this impacts our patients too.
Like, when did you discover they were all racist? Did you discover they were racist before or after you hired them?
Like, to move the needle. I came to UCSF Health because the opportunity to change care, and I'm very energized to tackle this work. I hope you all are too. Now let's hear from Vice Chancellor Navarro.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Suresh.
Latinx.
And thank you all for being here this afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm Dr. Renee Navarro, the Vice Chancellor of Diversity and Outreach and a Professor of Anesthesiology. And today, I'm particularly happy.
Let's see. Murphy Spool says, "How do I get a hammer instead of a wrench?" I really should. You know what? I really should change the the membership icon where like if you join the channel as a member, I should change that to like a hammer and sickle. I feel like. I think that'd be funny. Maybe not everyone would appreciate that. But no, I can only give out wrenches, Murphy's Pool. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
To be here during Diversity Month and Latinx Heritage Month to discuss with my esteemed colleagues and our honored guests the progress as well as the challenges and opportunities for improvement in changing our culture and our climate here at UCSF. Today, we will focus on the first pillar of our anti-racism initiative, and that is ensuring that there is a safe, equitable, and inclusive climate for all of us. Next slide, please. I want to start by really grounding this in today's discussion in the context of the ongoing institutional efforts.
So everyone
Since
but straight white men.
2013, we have established a strategic plan
Everyone but
inclusive
straight
excellence,
white
our
men.
roadmap to inclusive excellence, and we've made progress. We have advanced equity by increasing the presence, the numbers of, the visibility, the inclusion and the support of those underrepresented and our marginalized groups at UCSF across all aspects of differences. We have made progress in engagement across these groups, in understanding foundational DEI principles so that we can engage in thoughtful conversations.
Well, yeah, progressive rising, great point. Or Jews and Asians.
Understanding of each other. And we've also advanced in our accountability. Next slide. However, we recognize that the progress has been a little slow and not enough. In 2020, with the murder of George Floyd, there was an outpouring of individuals here at UCSF really asking that we do more and that we focus on anti-racism and how it.
They established an entire anti-racism initiative based on George Floyd. Oh, that's just great. They're implementing an anti-racism framework, and now they're rolling out their initiative across the university. This is all being funded by the taxpayers in California. Congratulations.
Shows up in our policies, programs, and our practices.
I hope you're feeling proud of the use of your money.
So that's what was the origin of the establishment of our anti-racism initiative. We had the privilege over the 21-22 year to have Dr. Kamara Jones, a national leader in anti-racism, really work with us to arrange our collaborative framework with one that she's developed. And over the course of this year, we will continue to work on the implementation of our specific strategies to address the issues. The next slide describes our specific vision, which is, next slide, please. Our vision is that the Anti-Racism Initiative will continue to advance our goals of creating a diverse, inclusive, and equitable enterprise, the campus, the health system, where we recognize the weight of racism and its disparate impact on individuals, communities, and on the health of our U.S. system.
What that means when they say they're going to recognize the weight of racism and its disparate impact is that they are going to be allocating budget and resources at a taxpayer-funded institution on the basis of race. That's what that means. It's not just an acknowledgement of like, yeah, racism exists and it sucks, and we should really work on that. What they're very literally saying is they're going to allocate taxpayer funds and the tuition dollars that people are paying them, which is supplemented by the taxpayer, based on the color of people's skin.
Society. Furthermore, in this anti-racism initiative, it acknowledges the U.S. history and the impact specifically on Indigenous individuals and Black individuals. And we want to center their voices in the work that we're doing. Next slide. When we say racism, what we're talking about is the definition that we've adopted from Dr. Jones's definition, is that racism is a system. And it's a system of structuring opportunity and assigning value based on the social interpretation of how one looks, which is what we call race. And that this system unfairly disadvantages some individuals and communities and unfairly actually advantages other individuals and communities. And because of this, we're really sapping the strength of the whole society because we're wasting human resources. Next slide.
There's no evidence to back any of that up,
Some
what
of
she just
the
said, by the way.
updates to our anti-racism initiative across our 7
They just make
pillars,
this
we
stuff
have
up.
been delighted to welcome new members to our campus community doing this work. We recognize it takes a lot of us, the collective contributions to make these changes sustainable. One of our new members is our care advocate for racial justice, Kendra Hippolyth, recognizing the amount of trauma that individuals who have experienced harassment and discrimination carry. We want to be there to support those individuals.
So Casmar in the chat is asking a great question. Will students have to take an anti-racist class? I would bet all of the money in my bank account that students will absolutely be required to take an anti-racism class. And that's true at most colleges and universities now. If you have kids in school, make sure you like what, and by school I mean college in this case, not in college is a whole nother nightmare from the K through 12 schools. Some people have said to me with the schools exposed thing, they're like, you should do colleges too. I'm like, that is a whole next level fucking nightmare that I don't know if I can wrap my head around it right this second. But here's the too long didn't read. At almost every single college in the country right now, your students, if they choose to attend college, will be required to take some sort of anti-racism class, probably in their freshman year. And if the University of California at San Francisco isn't requiring that, I would be shocked. I would fall over on the floor and die of shock if they weren't requiring that. I don't know. Maybe someone wants to look it up while we're on the stream. Yeah, Emily says the University of Utah has required it. And it's not even just like the state universities. West Point requires it. The Air Force Academy requires it. I'm pretty sure the Naval Academy does. I'm not positive about that. But West Point 100% requires it. And the Air Force Academy, dude, Air Force Academy is like not even worth sending your kids to anymore. Even John Morgan, John had to take a women's studies class. Which, by the way, if your kids are taking women's studies classes or sociology, or even psychology at this point, and I say this as a psychologist, they're getting this stuff too. Yeah, Deborah says they probably had it for a long time. I bet you they have. Oh, Bot loves digging. UCSF leadership has formalized the guideline that all committees appointed by the chancellor or members of the chancellor's cabinet should be comprised of 50% women and underrepresented minorities. There we go.
We have in the repair project, as we've launched into understanding and doing research and understanding how to dismantle systemic racism in academic medicine. We're hiring 2 new postdoctoral fellows this year. We're supporting in the restorative justice training program, expanding restorative justice as a way to create a healing for communities and facilitate our moving forward.
So I want to talk about the word she just used, restorative justice. I've seen restorative justice. Restorative justice is basically like social emotional learning, like struggle sessions. It's struggle sessions in the context of like an educational institution. And the reason I'm bringing up restorative justice, and I don't, you know, to be like completely transparent, I haven't done a deep dive into restorative justice yet. I know enough at like a high level of what it is. Every time you hear the term restorative justice, think struggle sessions. Okay? That's what it is. Robert says, I was so wrong about you all. Please accept my sincerest apologies. Well, Robert, we're really glad that you came, and we're really glad that you stayed and you found out that we weren't actual socialists. We like making fun of socialists. I told you you'd fit right in. So restorative justice is basically like struggle sessions. And so the reason I bring this up is there are K through 12 schools that are implementing restorative justice as a part of the K through 12 educational environment. Burlington, Vermont is doing this. Portland, Oregon is doing this. So if you hear the term restorative justice at your school, you need to be on the lookout for what's going on. Okay? Because that's not good. Now, there are some parts of restorative justice that I actually do like. I don't think it's all bad. because it's not all bad. Not everything these people do is bad. But it's like a nugget of truth covered in a mound of bullshit. I think there are benefits to doing it that way, and I think that we should acknowledge those benefits while also making sure that they're not forcing kids to have a struggle session on the taxpayer dime.
With a new associate director, Jury Sanchez. And in our leadership, we have a new talent strategist, Stephanie Walker, who is advancing excellence in our staff recruitment. Our patient care pillar, we've launched our Black Health Initiative, and our program manager is Dr. Jonathan Butler. And then our commitment to the Bay Area within the auspices of our anchor institution, we're delighted to advance with a new program manager for communication and grants, Rania Colvin. Equity and research will be advanced with our new Associate Vice Chancellor for Research, DEI and Anti-Racism, Dr. Tung Nguyen. Next slide. I want to leave with the two reflections that Dr. Jones left us with here at UCSF. And over the course of the year, she identified a couple of things. She found that many at UCSF are comfortable naming racism. Some have engaged in identifying like how is it operating within their setting. And a few people have started to take action. The second thing she said is that racism denial still exists in many parts and at all levels of UCSF.
Okay, I want to just ask the chat, what do you think they mean by the term racism denial? What do you think they mean by that? Racism denial. And while you guys are chatting in your answers, I just want to say hello to Intense Heat over on Odyssey. I also see the American Ranch Show over on Odyssey. I've never heard of you before, American Ranch Show, but I might check that out. Thank you for tuning in for Happy Hour. I also want to say hello to the people watching over on Rockfin. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Rockfin's a great platform. I really do appreciate it. And of course, on Rumble and Gitter and Facebook and all the other places I'm streaming on right now, I do have a bunch of alternative platforms. I'm not just on YouTube. The chat is just best on YouTube, but you can watch it on Odyssey, Rockfin, Rumble, wherever you like. Let's see. George. Yes, I like George's answer. So what does racism denial mean? People who don't subscribe to their brand of racism. That's what it means. That's what it means. Denying, Deborah has another good definition, denying the fact that there is systemic racism. So do you guys know that definition of racism that they gave us just a few slides ago, where they're like, racism is a system in which white people enact on non-white people to keep white people in power and to keep everyone else oppressed. Okay, that's not exactly what they said, but that's the basic gist of what their definition was. If you deny that systemic racism exists, if you deny if you deny their specific definition of racism, then they're gonna say you're a racism denier. Isn't that fun for the staff members who work there who think, I'm all about like not treating people differently by the color of their skin, but I don't buy into this systemic nonsense. I bet there are still one or two people in San Francisco who think that. Must be nice for their university to call them a racism denier.
And that there are still many at UCSF who value comfort over social justice.
What a dick thing to
I'll
say.
ask you this question, next slide, is how can we challenge ourselves to move through discomfort of recognizing racism? A lot of times people don't want to talk about race or racism, but how do we move
You guys talk
ourselves
about it
through
all the
discomfort
time.
of recognizing racism?
You talk about this
so that
every
we
day
can
of the
actually
week.
Take action. As I said, it's our collective action that's going to lead to sustainable change. Do we favor comfort over justice? And that's the question. In the next slide, we'd love to get your input and your engagement. Here, there are some links for you to be able to share with us your thoughts about how we move together collectively to
I bet they
past our
got some good
discomfort
events. We should do some
in
spy
creating
stream.
action. I also leave you with links to activities during our Diversity Month here, and to also subscribe to the ODO newsletter. So I will ask you to consider those things. So Now we move on to our pillar 1, which is to discuss safety and climate. And today we are really honored to have 2 distinguished guests, colleagues here speaking. We're going to hear some of the current efforts to improve the climate and culture of UCSF consistent with Pillar 1.
Oh, good. A liberal white
safe and
lady.
welcome-
2 liberal
welcoming
white
climate
ladies.
For all. The first speaker you'll hear from is Erin Gore. Erin is the UCSF Senior Vice Chancellor of Finance and Administration. Prior to joining UCSF in February, Erin was the Executive Vice President of Growth Initiatives at Wells Fargo Bank, where she led in the areas of strategic planning, public relations, policy, capital planning, change management, crisis communications, and financial and treasury management. Before her time at Wells Fargo, Erin served as the Associate Vice Chancellor and the Chief Financial Officer for the University of California, Berkeley. Following Erin's presentation, we will hear from Dr. Elizabeth Ozer. Dr. Ozer is a professor of pediatrics here at UCSF and the Associate Vice Provost of Faculty Equity. Dr. Ozer is the director of the Faculty Equity Advisor Program and co-chair of our Climate Survey Task Force, along with
Wow.
Genevieve Bunville. She will share key insights from the 2021 UCSF Climate Survey. I have asked Dr. Ozer to include in her presentation today the experiences of Black and African American members of the UCSF community.
Oh, that's
I
interesting.
thank you both for being here.
Why did they only care about Black members of the community? Why don't they care? She literally started this presentation saying that it was Latinx Heritage Month. Blah, blah, blah. She literally started the presentation saying it was Latinx Heritage Month. And now all of a sudden, we don't care about the experiences of Latinx people at all. It's like these people don't really care about the things that they claim to care about. Not even during Latinx Heritage Month can we hear about the experiences of Latinx. And why is that? Because in the woke in the woke oppression hierarchy, which also might be called the progressive stack, Black people are at the top of the woke oppression hierarchy. Black people will always be at the top of the woke oppression hierarchy. That means that no one, no matter what their intersectionality, can ever be more oppressed than Black people according to the woke oppression hierarchy. Therefore, even though it's Latinx Heritage Month, Latinx people are going to have to take a back seat. Because if they talked about the experiences of Latinx people over the experiences of Black people, that in and of itself would be considered racist.
Erin?
Okay, thank you, Renee. And I'm excited to be here today. As part of the SVC portfolio Renee mentioned is our campus safety and security, and I am the responsible administrative officer on campus. Today, we're going to focus on 3 areas that focus on transparency as well as
She seems like she needs a nap.
The system-wide Office of the President effort on security and some dashboards. Second will be de-escalation in the hospitals. And finally will be our new process on complaints and investigations. First here, and we will throw in the chat as well, is an exciting new dashboard that went up over the summer, which provides information both on UCSF's PD as well as the police force uniformed officers safety data across the UC system. There are 6 key areas: calls for service, civilian complaints, crimes stopped, budget and workforce data, as well as use of force. I will say when you jump into this, make sure you double click. And as you see lots of words, know that the data is just behind and ready for you to take a look at. Another significant change that we've made in the last year on progress for Pillar 1 is working on creating a more welcoming and safe environment at UCSF. And there have been 2 key areas that we have focused on. The first is reimagining security officers as public safety ambassadors. And that has included some new uniforms, which better reflect business attire, as you can see on the picture on the screen. In addition to this,
Wait. They seriously, I'm getting a spam call from California right now. How ironic is that? Maybe it's someone from the University of California in San Francisco. Did they really just say that they changed the uniform of their campus safety officers to this? So they look like they work in a hotel. They're the campus safety officers at UCSF now look like they work in like a cheesy like hotel or something, or like an airline worker. They do. And that's supposed to be anti-racist and to make things more welcoming. I'd probably be less likely to talk to these people if I'm honest. I'm sure that's racist of me to say.
Enhance our policy to have everyone wear badges while they are on campus. And what that does is makes it easier to identify who are our team members and make sure that they're in the right place. And if everyone wears their badge, it makes it more equitable. It also reduces
No, it doesn't.
any racial biases as people are asked for their ID as they enter the building.
What the fuck? Wearing a badge does not make things more like, okay, can we just think about how that's like, you're literally telling me that the only way to get your staff to not be racist is to force everyone to wear their badge around their neck? That's literally the only solution that you have to your staff not being racist? Is to have everyone wear their badge where they can see it at all times? Does that seem a little bit racist to anyone else? So are you telling me if someone forgets their badge and they happen to be a black person and they forget their badge, is it then okay to be racist to them because they forgot their badge? They weren't wearing their badge in the proper place? Oh my God.
I'm now going to flip to one of our key pillars within our tiered response model, and it's a de-escalation resource being used in all inpatient units. What this is called is Code Care, and Code Care stands for consider the facts, have awareness of your assumptions and perspectives, recognize other perspectives, and evaluate the best option to move forward. Code Care at UCSF is called before security when it is active. And it's a team specially trained to assist anyone needing extra support in managing stress, crisis that can be experienced in the hospital setting. We've also thrown up there as well our longstanding 415-476 HEAL, which is a way to have police services make a welfare visit if that is needed. I'm next going to go on to another important initiative that has been brought forward this year. On the left-hand side of this slide, you see our existing Community Safety Board, which will be relaunched in October under my leadership. And it's a board to work collaboratively on issues involving safety, security, and create shared learning environments.
So can I tell you guys something? This is off the topic of this video, but do you guys know how Styx Hexenhammer's audience has been trolling me for like the last 4 days? And like they kept saying, you're not going to be able to survive. You're not going to make it. Just give it up now, Karlyn. Do you know what's happened? I've gained like 2,000 subscribers. I lost about 1,000 subscribers when Styx Hexenhammer posted that bullshit video about me, which I didn't really care all that much. But like, cause like whatever, if you're gonna unsubscribe because Styx Hexenhammer lies about me, then like fuck off, like whatever, you didn't really know me or my content anyway. But like, I have gained 2,000 subscribers in the last 2 days. I'm not even trying or anything. You guys know I don't care about numbers, but I just think that's hilarious. Styx Hexenhammer's big scary audience. Woo! Clanked them. They really showed me. Woo!
Where officers and members of the UCSF community can interact and learn together. We have added to this, under Dr. Navarro's leadership, a police accountability board which will really focus as an independent civilian accountability board to review investigation reports regarding complaints filed against the UCPD. And this board will only be convened when there is a complaint to review.
So
There's also a new
Jan
procedure
says,
to go along.
Jan says her Twitter isn't that woke from what I saw. She doesn't actually strike me as someone who's woke. She strikes me as someone who worked in banking, probably got burnt out, and was like, you know what would be easier than banking? Higher education. And she's right. And she found a cushy, fucking, nicely titled job, probably with an overpriced salary and really great benefits at the University of California at San Francisco. And she's like, done, I'll go there. But she doesn't strike me as woke. She's not a true believer. She's just going along with this bullshit at best. Oh, yeah, there's a total. The guy who posted this video is fucking psychotic. He is psychotic. Do you know why he made that video? Because I blocked him on Twitter for acting like a psychopath. Man.
With this new accountability body. And what this procedure will do is have, when a complaint comes in, it will be reviewed by an independent investigation group driven by UC Davis. UC Davis has over 8 years of experience with this type of review, and the system has made a decision to leverage that expertise to review the complaints and then provide that independent confidential investigation report to the Police Accountability Board led by Dr. Navarro. We believe that this additional transparency with the dashboards that came up this summer, additional resources and de-escalation, both in how our security ambassadors interact and are presented to our community, as well as having everyone wear their badges, and then having an additional police accountability body with a new outside investigation process are all significant progress into Pillar 1. And I look forward to questions at the end or at any time in the future. Please feel free to reach out. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Renee.
Yeah, this woman's not a true believer at all.
Thank you, Erin.
She doesn't care
Now
about any of
we'll
this
hear
stuff.
from Dr. Elizabeth Ozer, who will share the results of our climate survey. Dr. Ozer.
Thank you. Let me, okay. Okay, here we go. Thank you for this opportunity.
Pronouns
to be part
on
of this
the
anti-racism
slide.
town hall and share
Look
the
at this.
climate survey results.
I wonder if these results are public. I wonder if this has got to be posted somewhere on their website. And I mean, I bet it's taxpayer funded information, so we could just like get it anyway. But like, look, her pronouns are higher than her titles. Her pronouns have more prominence on this slide than the fact that she's a professor in the Department of Pediatrics, associate vice provost of faculty equity. So the University of California, San Francisco has a whole position just dedicated to equity on the faculty. But her pronouns are the most important thing, of course. Thank you,
the
bot.
overall goals of the climate survey were really to gather
I would like to see the raw data
related to institutional climate for all of our learners, faculty, and staff in areas such as diversity, equity, inclusion, mentorship, sponsorship, anti-racism, experience of harassment and discrimination,
bot
and
already
campus
found it.
services, initiatives, and resources. Our goals are to identify strengths to build upon and gaps that can be addressed. And then the expectation is to develop action plans and strategic initiatives to improve the overall UCSF enterprise. The climate survey was conducted in late 2021. It was administered online in English, Spanish, and Chinese by an independent research firm. And the executive summary and full survey report were released in August and are all available. So while I'm going to, with limited time, be going through this quite quickly, And as Vice Chancellor Navarro said, also asked to highlight some of these for this particular forum for the Black African American population, in addition to more broadly. There's lots and lots of data in there for you all to also look at. So we had a total of 14,579 responses. This was across academics, staff, and learners. The response rates were highest for faculty at 56%, and then staff, followed by learners. And in terms of the analysis, we're able to weight data to make sure it actually represents the population.
Let's see, I got a super chat from Incognito. Hang on. Bot will find what doesn't want to be found. Isn't that the truth? And not only will bot find what doesn't want to be found, she will find it in about 3.5 seconds. Just like when she finds people's phone numbers, and then she calls those phone numbers. And then I get accused of giving her those phone numbers, even though I did not give her those phone numbers, because those phone numbers are on Google. If you just search for a certain business name, I don't know, in the UK, I don't know, I'm not going to say the name of the town because I don't dox people, but bot can find that shit really quickly, and then I fucking get blamed for it. If you don't want your phone number found, don't put it on Google, because if you put it on Google, queen, bot will find it. Anyway, sorry, that was my personal moment. If you don't know, you don't know.
But as our next slide show, we actually have our unweighted data. That is, those who actually completed the survey are quite representative demographically of our population. So in looking at this, one just to call out is that we had actually a higher percentage of those who identify as multiracial completing the survey than what we actually have a record of in the U.S.
You know what's
UCSF.
surprising to me about this? Hang on. No, don't go forward yet. I wasn't done. You know what's surprising to me about this? Only 1%, less than 1%, are identifying as trans and non-binary. Given that I'm pretty positive I saw a story about a high school that had a 50% identification rate of trans or non-binary the other day. I need to go back and find that article. Does that number seem low to anyone else, given that this is the University of California at San Francisco? Have a nice weekend, Progressive Rising. Thank you for dropping by. It seems low to me. That's all I'm saying.
Call out is that we had actually a higher percentage of those who identify as multiracial completing the survey than what we actually have a record of in the U.S. UCSF. And also similar for a disability, about 12%.
15% LGBTQ plus. Well, no, they took out T. Look at, oh, wait a second. Is UCSF transphobic? Excuse me? Look at this. LGBTQ plus. Wasn't I to understand that separating out the T from the LGB, isn't that considered transphobic? And yet here we are, University of California, San Francisco is omitting the T from LGBT? That's just a little surprising to me is all. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that it's surprising. But it doesn't surprise me that they have 15% from that, because it's San Francisco. Of course there's going to be a higher percentage of gay people in San Francisco. There's a whole fucking district in the city which is like dedicated to gay men.
Identified as having a disability who completed the survey. And while it's likely underreported at UCSF, that population is more about 4%. So in terms of the summary, overall, the UCSF climate is viewed positively. Our pride values are well known important to our community, and UCSF's implementation of them receives positive marks. The majorities of respondents feel connected to, accepted at, and generally listened to at UCSF. A majorities also describe UCSF as respectful, friendly, and inclusive. Challenges remain, however, regarding the experiences of historically underrepresented groups, and in particular, Black African American individuals, trans, non-binary people, and those with disabilities report both less comfortable climates and higher levels of discrimination. So in looking at the overall climate, about 70% say the climate at UCSF is comfortable or very comfortable. And then within that, though, we see variation by demographic characteristics, position, and school work location. So here you can see that learners are the most comfortable with the UCSF climate. Next comfortable are staff, who are just indicate a little bit higher percentage than faculty. And trans, non-binary report are least likely, and those with a disability to say that the climate is comfortable.
Well, are trans non-binary people going to be comfortable anywhere, if we're honest about it?
And Black African American and Native American respondents also say that the climate is far less comfortable. So you can see here at 59% and 51%.
And of course, they had to say Black before Native American, even though Native
Campus
American feels more uncomfortable.
Report a somewhat more comfortable climate than health system staff.
Hang on. I just want to point this out. Hang on. She's going through these slides really quick. I'm so glad Bot found them because we can go back later. I want to point this out, though. So she said she's putting like Black and African Americans, they're 59% like comfortable. Native Americans are 51% comfortable. That means that the University of California at San Francisco is more racist towards Native Americans than they are towards Black people. And yet, who does the University of San Francisco or California at San Francisco care about? Black people above all else. But their own data, which they had, is telling them they're more racist towards Native Americans than they are towards Black people. But still, you can't prioritize Native Americans over Black people. That would break the woke progressive hierarchy. It's not allowed. Look, Asians feel the most comfortable. Isn't this interesting? Check this out. Asians feel the most comfortable, followed by Pacific Islander, followed by white people. White people are third on the list. White people at the holy shit. Their own data is telling them that the lived experiences of white people at the University of California at San Francisco, their lived experience is that white people are oppressed. More oppressed than Asians and more oppressed than Pacific Islanders. That's funny. I'm sorry. That's just funny by any measure.
1%. Campus staff report a somewhat more comfortable climate than health system staff. And there are differences in comfort with the climate by school. So you can see here that the School of Medicine and those respondents in the School of Pharmacy report higher levels of comfort with the climate. And moving on to efforts to improve the climate, many of our climate initiatives were considered very valuable by many. It's also interesting that the majority at UCSF are confident that they can influence the UCSF climate in some way. The two most valued climate initiatives for faculty was really valuing the mentorship programs, particularly for new faculty, and the staff valued the career development opportunities. Other programs that were highly valued include access to counseling, sexual or racial harassment.
Oh God. The left is trending on Twitter right now. Why is the left trending on Twitter? Just the term, the left is trending. Oh, because of the subpoena. Because Trump got subpoenaed today. I'm so excited that Trump is getting subpoenaed. Is anyone else excited? Now, of course, Trump's not going to comply with the subpoena. That's never, we are never going to see Trump testify in front of Congress. But my God, I know this is not the subject of this stream, but can we all just imagine and possibly try to manifest a fantasy in which Trump really does testify in front of Congress? Like, would that not be? I would clear the whole day. If Trump testifies in front of Congress, I will stream all day about it. I will do live reaction stream all day. And then after Trump testifies in front of Congress, we're just going to watch MSNBC for the rest of the day. And we're going to drink like peanut butter whiskey and have we're going to do like a 24-hour live stream. I would never actually do a 24-hour live stream. That would never happen. But I might do a 12-hour live stream. I've done 7 hours before. I would go all day long, and anytime they aren't actually doing the testimony, we would be watching MSNBC. Oh man, it would be incredible.
Improving the staff recruitment process to minimize bias.
We have to ask Joshua if it's going to happen. We have to make Joshua psychic it.
Force, the diversity contributions taken into consideration for hiring and promotion, and town halls, decreasing systemic racism. So here we are.
Oh yeah. The Twitter horde would be like, Karlyn has been streaming Donald Trump for like 18 hours. Can you believe it? Oh my God, I never thought she'd do such a thing. She streams all the time. It's unhealthy. God. I'll stream as long as I want.
Following up on the mentorship being something that was very highly valued, most UCSF faculty and learners have mentors. And staff
Trump would absolutely perjure himself. Oh, he totally would.
To want one. So you can see a big differentiation here between staff and faculty and learners. And actually, when you look at Black African-American faculty and learners, they're actually more likely than others to report having a mentor. But when you look at staff, they're less likely than staff overall.
So you're telling me that Black students are more likely to be mentored than white students? You're honestly telling me at the incredibly systemically racist University of California at San Francisco that Black students are more likely to have a mentor? And that's proof of the systemic racism? Okay.
Really indicating a need there. And on the one hand, while it's actually quite positive that our Black faculty and learners are report having mentors, I think this probably also certainly reinforces what certainly underrepresented minority faculty know here at UCSF about the really minority tax and a lot of this responsibility being shouldered by URM.
Oh my God, listen to that spin. They're like, yes, Black students are more likely to have mentors, but their mentors are more likely to be minorities. And that means that minorities are shouldering the weight and the emotional labor of doing the mentoring, which is not what they signed up for. So it's like, if they find a stat that is good, like Black kids are being mentored. Okay, great. Guess what? I didn't have a fucking mentor in college. But apparently they do at the University of San Francisco, which is fine. But then they're like, but the weight of that mentorship requires the additional emotional labor of non-white faculty members. And so the fact that Black students are more likely to have a mentor is in and of itself racist. It's like, dude, seriously?
And Black African Americans, like the rest of UCSF overall, are really quite positive about the quality of the mentoring experience.
Okay, so that's good.
Now, since the COVID-19 pandemic, caregivers among faculty and staff have experienced negative impacts on their work. And 69% of faculty and 52% of staff report caregiving responsibilities. And particularly for faculty, the impacts are most frequently seen on productivity, ability to concentrate, and work schedule.
These
So here
people
you
are
can
literally
see,
trying to solve a
the
problem that
blue
no
line
one
is
has.
faculty, and quite striking, these percentages, which we also know disproportionately affect women. When you look at climate for specific groups, so when people were asked on the survey to rate the climate for their own groups, the ratings are less positive among historically underrepresented groups, with the lowest ratings among trans non-binary individuals, those with disabilities, and Black African Americans. So, the population in general, women describe a somewhat less positive climate for women than men do for themselves. So if you ask women, what's the climate like at UCSF for women, 67% say it's very good or good, whereas 75% of men say the climate is very good or good for men. And actually the difference is even greater if you look at the Black women and men, where 57% of Black African American women say the climate is good for women versus 73% of males. And among groups, it's when you look among learners, staff, and faculty, it's actually faculty women who are actually pulling a lot of that differentiation. That's where we really see the differences. So among faculty women, 53% say that the climate is good for women, whereas 79% of male faculty say the climate is good for men. And the Black African American faculty experience is consistent with that. So when describing their own situations, so how is the climate, let's say for white people, whites and Asians rate the climate most positively.
No, that was not true.
And
no,
so you can see
that was not true.
The highest is
they included Pacific Islander in with Asians. That's what happened.
For white.
But of course they had to put whites first. Even though in the survey information they showed us earlier, Asians and then Pacific Islanders were first. But now they're changing the information to make it tell a different story.
That, decreases. The Hispanic Latinx population, about 50%, say the climate is very good or good.
They completely fucked with the results
at UCSF. And then
they fucked with the results.
African American, Black.
This isn't the same data that they showed us like 3 slides ago, and they just expect us not to notice. They fucked with the results. Wow.
Are the lowest at 31%. So this is about 1 out of 3 Black African American individuals who describe the climate as good. For Blacks at UCSF, with Hispanic Black individuals even less positive at 20%. Now looking at reports of discrimination, experiences of discrimination vary across groups at UCSF with wide variation by gender identity, disability status, and race ethnicity. So females and trans non-binary people are more likely than males to experience gender discrimination. 9% of LGBTQ+ report discrimination based on sexual orientation, and 15% of those with disability report discrimination based on their disability. And where we really see the really high numbers here is that 42% of Black African Americans say they've experienced racial discrimination based on race ethnicity. And then you can see the next groups are those who are Hispanic or multiracial, but really, really high for the Black African American population. And it's also interesting that while the pattern is similar among all groups, where the Black population reports higher rates of discrimination, it is the highest among the Black African American faculty. And now moving to
lived
exclusionary
experiences.
behavior,
oh no,
which is defined as being shunned, ignored, intimidating, offensive, and/or hostile behavior at UCSF. You can say that 24% of our total population say they've experienced this in the last year. Women are more likely than men to experience LGBTQ plus, trans,
LGBTQ plus
non-binary
again.
people, and those with
No T.
disabilities are more likely to experience, and the rates are highest
Look,
among
they've
Native
separated them
American
out.
and
They've separated them out. I might take a screenshot of this. I really just never expected the University of California at San Francisco to be so transphobic. Never expected it. Hang on. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'm going to tweet that. That feels like a tweet to me. Hang on. 1 sec. Guys, if you're enjoying Happy Hour, please mount that like button for me. I would really appreciate it. We do this every Friday starting at 5 p.m. We watch a woke training and then we talk about it. We have some drinks. If you're drinking anything interesting, please put it in the chat. Let me just send out this tweet real quick. I just got to find my screenshot. UCSF has separated the T from the LGB. I just never expected the University of California at San Francisco to be so transphobic. Bing. I'm sure that'll go over well. Let's keep going.
Black African-American individuals. So here you can see these rates, 40% Native American, 34% Black African-American, followed by Hispanic and multiracial. Now, when among those, if you look overall at those who have experienced exclusionary behavior and you ask them, what do you believe the conduct was based upon? Almost half, 48%, say they think it was based upon the position that they occupy at UCSF.
They are, hang on, I want to make a point. Hang on.
Etc.
My mouse is sucking today, so it takes me like 5 minutes to get my mouse to go across the entire screen for some reason. So Reagan is pointing out correctly that they're treating the T as separate and special. So I don't think they distinguished the T from the LGB just because they are correctly acknowledging that it's a different thing. Like, I mean, who you sleep with is different than how you identify. So they are different things. But so I'm not saying that like they're doing it for the correct reasons. But this is one of those instances where we can really use their own rules against them, right? What they're trying to do is give the T an elevated special class status because, again, the woke oppression hierarchy puts trans at the top. You do not have an identity that is more oppressed than trans. Okay? And so what they're trying to do is give them a special status of sorts. But every time we have the opportunity to speak leftist, we should. And if I have the opportunity to like accuse them of their worst fear, which is transphobia, I'm sure as heck gonna do it. No, it's not that. It's my my mouse pad has like guck on it or something. Yes, I do still have a mouse pad. I'm old. Okay, this is the way it goes. I think it just has guck on it that's like fouling things up, or my mouse just needs new batteries.
However, if you ask among the Black African Americans who experienced exclusionary behavior, most 75% say that they think it was based on their race, ethnicity. And few at UCSF say that the exclusionary behavior was based on factors such as SES, disability, pregnancy, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity. So we also see at UCSF that there's variation in position by the position. So learners are least likely to say that they experience exclusionary behavior, and then staff are just a little bit more likely than faculty. But interestingly, again, or interesting isn't quite the right word, but sort of sadly, there is little difference among the positions when it's among Black African Americans. So faculty, staff, and learners are kind of
enjoy your rum, Robert. We hope we see you again.
That they experience exclusionary behavior, and it's around 35%.
There are a lot of rum drinkers in my community, actually.
Exclusionary behavior varies by in-person versus.
Robert, you might be interested to know that not only are there a lot of rum drinkers in my community, there is actually there are rum makers in my community. Just a fun fact. We have all sorts of interesting experiences and a diverse set of community members in my community. Some of them do, in fact, make rum.
Remote location for faculty and staff, but not learners. So as you can see here, on the far left, the darker blue is the exclusively in-person, and then the turquoise next to it is the remote. So for both faculty and staff, and particularly for staff, they're more likely to experience this behavior if they're working in person. And then more health system staff experience exclusionary behavior compared to staff who work on campus. And given that more health system staff do work primarily in person, I'm sure that some of that is accounted for by the data that I just showed you. And there are also differences in experience of exclusionary behavior by school, with those in the School of Pharmacy least likely to say they've experienced this behavior. And then the other three schools are sort of plus or minus,
because they're all white,
points above or below the 24%.
They're all white in the School of Pharmacy.
So in summary, the majority perceive UCSF as a comfortable and inclusive institution and feel connected and accepted. Most faculty and learners have a mentor, but there are differences in perception of climate by position and schoolwork location. Individuals who are Black, Native American, trans, non-binary, or have a disability are less comfortable with the climate. Women and historically underrepresented groups experience more exclusionary behavior, and Black individuals experience far more racial discrimination. And clearly the intersections of identities also play a role in these experiences.
Intersectionality.
So our next steps, we are moving forward with the dissemination of data. As I mentioned, the full report is available. We're sharing breakdowns of results across UCSF by groups and locations, aligning the findings with Gallup and other relevant surveys, and really focusing on addressing these challenges in terms of broad engagement and participation in solution finding and the HR initiatives on people management and civility. And I just want to acknowledge and thank our climate survey
Look
task
at
force,
how many people are involved in this.
Team members.
I was like,
thank you, Doctor.
This probably cost them hundreds of thousands, if not into the millions of dollars. With the amount of people they have involved in this, this was easily hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not into the 7 figures worth. How crazy is that?
Thank you, Dr. Oser. It's a wealth of information. And as we said in the chat, the full report can be found via the link.
What was the privacy request? You're a taxpayer-funded institution.
So
you don't get privacy.
Some of the satisfaction ratings were partly due to population demographics. The higher population of white and Asian in the community both reported being more satisfied, and then it dwindled down in smaller representing race and ethnicities. We would like to talk about that.
Sure. I
Shows her Robin DiAngelo, upper left. Robin DiAngelo wannabe.
I really appreciate all of your comments, and I certainly agree with them as well. In that, also a survey is really one piece of much more that needs to happen, and a beginning and not an end. And I do appreciate your comment about the majority. I would say that I would agree that yes, that if you're taking all the data and you're looking at percentages of total, that if groups are smaller, they're less likely to be represented in that total. And that's why we've also really tried to highlight breaking down by groups, so that within, and I appreciate the word, clearly we had a report written by vendors, and I was actually using some language that, I think reflected the way it was written. And so I really appreciate that. But I would say that we are really trying very hard, and I think in the full report, as you also say, to really break that down. So to say, yeah, this is what you see when you look at the overall, but let's hone in on this in a variety of ways. And we're also doing a lot of work right now with the vendor in really developing some really specific reports that hone in very specific ways. So completely agree with those comments. Thank you.
I would also add one piece to this, which is the majority of the community has to acknowledge what's happening to the minority of the community. I mean, the purpose of this is that our campus climate is not an overall reflection of just what half of us think. We know that healthcare and teaching and learning and research is collaborative. That's one of our most core values at UCSF. And when I look at this, and when our leadership team looks at this, you look at the number of our team members that do not have an acceptable experience at some portion of their career here at UCSF. It's very challenging. And that's the main energy and focus behind our anti-racism initiative. And let's just stop and think about the title, anti-racism. That's a very serious term. That's not some mild discomfort on a Thursday afternoon while I'm trying to find a parking spot. I mean, that means that there are systemic reasons why our colleagues are not able to, at a minimum, feel comfortable in the environment at all times, and at a maximum advance their goals and dreams. And so I think that we cannot let the headline be everything is okay. What I do think, though, is that as has been said, we will use data. We're a scientific organization, and we're going to use data to find smoke, as Dr. Rose said. But after we find the smoke, I think that's when it gets uncomfortable, because everybody feels like coughing. And so I think it's okay. And I, for one, every time I see these slides, my heart sinks every single time. And
what are you talking about? There was
this
so
is
much good
important
news
for us
in
to
those
appreciate,
slides.
because I think what we're learning today and what we're talking about today is, even when we get this data, how do we deal with it? And it can't just be, well, let's see how it goes next year and see if it moves 2%. And I think that's what Renee has always taught us, and Renee has always led on campuses, that it's not.
Look at that finance lady. That finance lady right now is on Twitter. That blonde finance lady in the middle, she wants nothing. I used to see it. So for those who don't know, I worked in higher ed for 10 years. I worked at multiple colleges. I then worked for vendors who served colleges as a consultant. Even after I officially left higher education, I still did consulting work with colleges, with executive teams. I would run retreats for them and all this stuff. And I'm telling you, there are so many people that are executives in other industries that once they get burned out in those other industries, they go and find a cushy, high-paying, do-nothing job in higher education, and they don't have to do anything for the rest of their careers except for listen to people talk. That's all they have to do. And they collect a nice little benefits package, and they sit in their fancy office, and they have a fancy title, but they don't do anything. That blonde woman was burnt out on banking. I'll tell you right now. She got burnt out, and she's like, fuck this, and left and went and found her cushy job, and now she doesn't care at all. Look at her. She is so unengaged in all of this. She's just like, you know what? I say good for her. I mean that. Good for her. If you can get a major university to give you a fancy title and a sweet salary and a nice benefits package, and you don't have to do anything for it but show up to Zoom meetings every once in a while and talk about how you redressed your campus safety officers so they look like hotel workers so people will be less intimidated. Listen, man, living the dream so far as I'm concerned. Good for her.
Not about changing the data by 2%. It's about what are the 7 pillars really going to do to change.
She's on Twitter right now. Look at this blonde woman. It's so great. She's on Twitter.
So I just wanted to add that this is part of our journey, is even discussing how do you look at the data. I don't know, Dr. Rose, if you have comments on that as well.
No, I mean, I think that, data is about the questions we ask, and the questions we ask after we ask questions, as you all will again get more information from the results.
Exactly. Casey knows.
Casey knows. Solicit new surveys to get other information that may be one of the directions you want to go. But data is not any better than the theory and the contexts and
the blonde woman is all of us,
right? So in the process of getting data, we have to remember it doesn't just fall out of the sky. It's based on a set of pre-existing, sort of ideas. So yeah, I think, data is obviously important. I would never want you to not gather it. But, I do. There are presentation moments in the report. I mean, I'm just being honest. I do this work all the time, and it'd be no point for me to come all the way
That's
out
a
here to
true
San
believer.
Francisco and lie to you.
True believer.
It's sort of silly.
Robin
but-
DiAngelo is a true
but,
believer.
there are places where things are missing, where points of comparison are not present, and we can talk offline to offer advice about how that might.
We have about 20 minutes left of this video. It would not surprise me at all if this devolved into like a little mini struggle session between Robin DiAngelo lady and Dr. Dude. And the blonde woman in the middle is just gonna like have none of it.
Be brought more to the fore, but those absences, confuse matters. Let me give a quick example. When the question of mentorship came up and how many African Americans were happy about mentorship, there's a whole nother section on sponsorship. And sponsorship has a very different kind of result, for example. And it's never clear.
See you,
what
Deborah.
white
Thank you for
faculty
dropping by.
feel about sponsorship.
Happy
and
birthday
mentorship.
again.
And so if that's not present, I mean, say if African Americans are 44% or whatever, it was somewhere in the 40s, happy with mentorship, well, what is the white faculty's response? Is it 90%? Is it 52%? And then on sponsorship, what's that comparison? So do you see what I mean? You have data and then you don't have data, and then you actually can't figure out what you're trying to figure out from looking at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I will. I mean, I think more broadly to have a discussion. I think actually in the slides I presented, it was a comparison that overwhelmingly it was positive, and it was even more positive among African American, and the sponsorship is fairly consistent. But I think there are lots of
in the report, it doesn't show whites' response to sponsorship. I went through it pretty closely. It doesn't ever say, what do white faculty think about sponsorship? So it's just about saying, can I compare? It might be everyone feels exactly the same way. That'd be wonderful. I don't know what the result is. It was just about explaining.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, Lisa?
Yeah, so there are a lot of questions about what are the next steps. One person says, I love the idea of having other town halls focused on specific groups. What are our plans for the next steps, Renee?
Please have more town halls. Please have more town halls.
Time talking about, one, making sure that we have transparency in the dissemination of the data. The full report's available. We want people to delve into the report, look at the information, and then we will be going out specifically to groups and to individuals to share the data with them and to gather their engagement and their input as to helping with solution finding. We'll have data shared with the health system specifically about issues there, by school, and by groups. And we will, through the 4CI committee, go to each of the employee resource groups to seek their engagement, and individuals. That's why I put up the URL. We want you engaged in this work. We have an open border, so to speak. We want people to come in to ingest this data, to share with us, to help drive our solution findings. So that process we are embarking upon as we continue to share the information across the campus.
Great, thank you. This one's for Renee. This Elizabeth. There were a couple of folks wondering, do we have graduate division specific results and Benioff Children's Hospital Oakland results?
Yes, we do.
Look, Robin DiAngelo lady is not happy.
And
she's not happy at all.
So really, I would say actually for both things, for the report, we also have crosstabs and more detailed data that aren't even in the report that are going to be distributed, because there's only so much that could even go in the broader report. And clearly for a very short slide presentation, there was only so much that could go in there. So certainly there's lots more data to share. The graduate division, I think, should have been included as a separate, not just the 4 schools. I would agree with that. And we definitely have that data.
Excellent.
That is in the report.
Okay, thank you. This one's for Dr. Rose. Can you speak a bit to the intersections of identities? It seems important to talk about the experience of Black positive trans people on campus, and Black people of color, people with disabilities, etc. There was a nod at the end of the presentation to people at the intersections, and it seems critical to recognize and learn from the experience of people at these intersections of oppression as we think about how to move forward as a community.
It's a fantastic question. And there's so much data in this report. I'm sure there's a way to sort of emphasize and pull that information that you do it. The same thing's true for ethnic groups that also presume a racial category. So Hispanic is not racially broken out, for example, and that might be another place where figuring out how race intersects with ethnicity, how race intersects with disability, with sexuality, so on and so forth. Those things are very important because you may find reinforcing elements, you might not, and none of these groups are homogeneous. I mean, are separate. We're all intersectional in this way, and figuring out how to pay attention.
If everyone is
to that
intersectional,
again, I
no
wasn't
one
in
is
on the survey
intersectional.
design, so I don't know what's possible, but that would be, I would think that'd be a wonderful and very important, insightful addition to the data.
Great. This one's for Suresh. I've noticed on the health side, the high-level diversity, equity, inclusion positions are filled by faculty. I fear this is leaving out the experience of staff. Will there be positions created with staff experience at the forefront, and those persons hired into these positions be staff rather than clinicians?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that it's a journey. And I think that what we want is to make sure that not only do we have more than just faculty represented as part of the team. And by the way, in many of our working groups today, they're majority non-faculty membership in those working groups and projects. But I think in terms of full-time folks, we will certainly add those roles and those voices. I mean, I think I saw a lot of questions on this, and I would love to get Dr. Rose's thoughts on it as well. What we're really trying to do is create safe spaces to get feedback and meet our own staff where they are so that they can share their experiences. Because I think that a lot of what we're running into, as hard as we work, is it's really hard to elicit that frontline feedback in advance of an event, of a bad event, a bad occurrence, a bad conversation, something like that. In advance, how are people feeling? And I don't know if Dr. Rose could give us some perspective on how other organizations have started the dialogue. So it's not just about the data. How do you start having some of these meaningful conversations, and what would be some of your ideas on perhaps how we could do that better?
Thank you, Suresh. That's a really great question. I guess one of the things I would recommend, and this may be unfeasible, so feel free for everyone to shake their heads no at the top of the Zoom, but you have all this data, right? You see there's some, like I said, there's some smoke. So then, the next step is to talk to people in smaller groups, right? So that leadership who's involved in these things to go to groups of 30, maybe 20 to 40 people, confidentially, non-recorded, to get people to talk about their experiences. Surveys can only really count for certain things. There's no follow-up questions. There's no texture. There's no sense of what.
Okay, can I just tell you guys? Okay, so I decided to run. This is nothing to do with this. I need to refocus and pay attention to the rest of this presentation. I'm acknowledging that, but okay. So because it's the last couple days of my Schools Exposed crowdfunding campaign, I decided to do some Twitter promotion. To just promote that, because on my actively Unwoke account, I actually can monetize, unlike on my personal account where Twitter has blocked me from everything, but I can still do stuff on the actively Unwoke account. So I decided to run some promotion on some tweets, and the tweet that I may have let me show you guys. This is so fun. Oh my god. Okay. So the tweet that I am paying Twitter to promote right now, and they did actually approve my ad, is this one. Where I have Sarah Connor as the mom who finds out what their kids are reading. And so I'm paying Twitter to promote this for me. And because I'm paying Twitter to promote it, it's going in front of all the left-wing nutcases. And they're all replying and reading in my comments. And it's so good. And they keep reporting it. Twitter keeps approving this ad because there's nothing wrong with it. and then and then the left-wing nutcases keep reporting it, and then Twitter pulls the ad down. And then they approve it again, and then they get it pulled, and it's like but I've got all these people reeing and complaining in the replies. No, Alexandra, you didn't miss anything. I'm just having I'm having a moment of levity on this tweet that I'm promoting on Twitter. It's pinned to the top of Actively Unwoke. So guys, if you're on Twitter, follow me at Actively Unwoke. This is my Actively Unwoke account, just in case I get permanently banned on Twitter again before Elon Musk takes over next week, which apparently is going to be next week, which would be fucking great. Like, but this is like another account that I have that it's like a brand account. So make sure you follow it. This tweet is pinned to the very top. And oh, are there some leftists having some feelings in the comments? And I'm having so much fun, but I do need to refocus. Yeah, oh, people are seeing it. People are seeing it, and it's glorious. And of course, if you have not yet heard of the Schools Exposed project, this is a great opportunity for you to learn about it if you haven't already, and I won't pimp it anymore because I already have, but all right, I'm refocusing. We're going to pay attention for the rest of this presentation. I can respond to Twitter after the next 16 minutes.
What people feel, and what you gain is you gain so much trust when you take people's words seriously. And you do investigate what they're saying. So, and then you do this obviously over and over. As you gather more and more information, you start seeing patterns in some places and maybe not in others. That might guide some future surveys, or it might guide some future conversations. And then when something does happen, you already have a relationship with people, and people feel that you're interested because you didn't wait for the crisis to have the conversation. So it's a two-way street. It produces, a greater sense of safety in terms of sharing. It reduces the pressure of that sharing, so it's not just reactive, and it allows for insight around other things. And we've done that at Brown in various ways for different reasons.
Oh, she's at Brown. Oh, isn't that nice? She's at Brown.
But it augments the kind of survey work that you are doing, and I would strongly recommend something along those lines.
And let's just share with the campus community that through our employee resource groups, through the Black Caucus, the CLCA, that we actually are engaging with the communities in an ongoing basis and have been doing so for years. And, we will go specifically to those groups and share this data in exactly as you said, Tricia, to have those conversations with them. We know from their stories already that this is validated data. We have other ways of understanding the experience.
That's not how you validate data.
Or even our pre-complaint.
That's not correct at all.
A lot of input from people who are just struggling.
You don't validate data just because someone says, I agree with the data. That's not how data is validated. These people are the ones that are in charge of teaching students how to research. What they just taught is not correct. I want Trump back on Twitter so bad. Does anyone else mount the like button if you really want to see Trump come back on Twitter? Like, I know that he's going to stick with Truth Social. I'm positive of it. I'm positive he's not going to come back on Twitter, but God damn it. I would really like for Trump to come back on Twitter.
So this confirms with data other experiences and things that we've seen at our institution, and we have engaged those groups. They're part of our monthly Committee on Culture, Climate, and Inclusion. Their voices have continuously been at the table, and we will continue to drive that and open it up so that more people feel comfortable that it's safe for them to come forward and share the information with us.
Great. This one's for Dr. Rose. Do you have recommendations on balancing and increasing inclusion opportunities of underrepresented groups during a time when technology is more and more a requirement for engagement, even though we know technology usage can highlight biases and inequities?
So the question is, how can we expand inclusion when technology can be a source of exclusion?
Right.
Okay, just making sure I got that. Well, the first thing is to do mobile technology. So rather than actual laptops, if you're talking about working people, poor people in general, people of color, they access the so-called, wired world through cell phones around the world, but here as well. So developing apps, figuring out ways to give people access, and this gets to Suresh's point and also Renee's answer to, explanatory context that she provided. Maybe also meeting with these various groups is one thing, but creating an app where people can communicate on a more informal basis at will, could be very important.
There are
But
not
there's
enough
nothing like
apps where people can
face-to-face. So
communicate.
that means, building community and face-to-face takes work, time, energy, and during a pandemic, I'm sure that's even more challenging. But I think
this was last week,
mobile
or not last month.
technology is
Wait,
one of the best ways to get around.
This woman is still talking as though the pandemic is still happening. This was filmed last month. This is not even that old. We're not talking about something that's 1 or even 2 years old here. This was weeks ago. And she's still talking like the pandemic is a real thing. Of course the pandemic is a real thing. I'm required to say the pandemic is a real thing. You should all get vaccinated. Vaccination will not hurt you at all. You should definitely get your kids vaccinated, because the CDC would never tell you not to do something, or to do something rather, that is not beneficial for your children. Of course the pandemic is still real. We should all be wearing masks and vaccinated and all that bullshit, and that's what YouTube makes me say so I don't get a strike, blah blah blah. But for real, you really think that talking to each other in person is like a labor-intensive exercise? It's really not. You don't need an app to talk to people. There are enough apps to talk to people.
Around that. And then, then there's face-to-face, which is, it tells you so much more. But that's the best. You can't change the tech environment, in the context of what your project is here. Best you can do is make it as accessible as possible.
Okay, great. This one's for Vice Chancellor Navarro. Several questions on how does leadership plan to change the culture of discrimination and discomfort for Black folks on campus? And does the leadership have a plan to put money into anti-racism efforts directed towards African Americans on this campus?
So thank you for that question. I have shared the anti-racism initiative work, obviously, with the Chancellor's executive and leadership team. And as Suresh has said, he's heard these data and others many times in presentations to the leadership group. The leadership has expressed, as has Aaron here as well, a member of the Chancellor's executive leadership team, their support and commitment and ownership for actually moving forward. There have been funds budgeted specifically towards the anti-racism initiative, which has allowed us to hire, you saw the new additions to individuals hired specifically to do the work of anti-racism, and then defining for ourselves as executive leaders what our responsibilities are around anti-racism. It is the responsibility, and defined as such, and established accountability for executive leaders in these areas as well. And they see that as a part of their role of being a leader of UCSF. Aaron, did you want to comment further?
I'll just come in. One activity recently done in Finance and Administrative Services was inviting Dante King to campus. We did it in person. We had about 100 people, and the title is "How is Racism Operating Here at UCSF?" And we really did the morning with a focus on
is that recorded?
Kind of an anti-Black understanding of the systematic ways that racism operates, and in the afternoon we focused on policies and procedures that are exclusionary in many ways, and we'll be taking forward.
You can see it on the web now.
Well, but taking forward both.
It's on the web.
Some policies that we can change, as well as some practices, and we are funding those initiatives in FAS. So that's an action that we started at the beginning of September.
Okay, great. This one's back to Elizabeth. Do we know how this survey results compare with prior surveys? And then another question, but we'll ask you first. Why do you use the term underrepresented as though it is a passive, unintentional outcome versus excluded?
They're like, you're not using strong enough language. They're not underrepresented. They're excluded.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Let me start with the first, and then we'll move to the second, which I think also others may want to join in that conversation. And I want to link some of the change and what we see to also, I saw there's some questions that were linked about the history of the particular survey. So I think that the two are kind of linked together. So I'll address that, and then Vice Chancellor Navarro may want to add to that. But so what I tried to do is to, we've had, as our community knows, many surveys and different populations, and to try to make it more consistent about questions and looking over time and populations and ways to make comparisons, as opposed to here's one survey for learners, here's one survey for staff. And there may be individual things that we want to ask certain populations, but to try to do this in sort of an every few years plan. So about a decade ago, there was a very broad UC survey, which was actually the last time we had a broad UCSF survey that went across populations. And that was developed by an external vendor evaluator in collaboration with representation from all of the UC campuses over the course of a long period of time. Some of the questions that we used here, we repeated those questions because we wanted to be able to look over time, even though the populations are fairly different some years later, just to look at trends. We also have a faculty survey that's been done several times with, as well, a lot of input from across our campus in terms of that survey and modifications to that survey over the years. And we also have some questions that we've repeated from that, so that we'll be able to look more at some of those comparisons. We've not yet, as the full report was just released, made all the comparisons between the faculty survey. But I would say that one of the things we're seeing, I think the overall comfort level, that's a very broad question, has remained pretty consistent with where it was the last time we did a broader population survey. The reports of exclusionary behavior have actually gone down, particularly for staff. I would say, though, that was what partly led us to look at this remote versus hybrid learning. So while the averages are down, this gets to sort of what's, when you start looking at the small print, some of this certainly may be due to our remote versus in-person learning and those kinds of things. So that will also be part of the work, is really looking at some of these other surveys and where could we make generalizations about change and where not. I guess I also want to make one other point in terms of our surveys. You know, the faculty survey really led to a lot of initiatives that focused on salary equity, that focused on leave.
Well done,
these kinds of things that we've responded to as a result of the survey. Our last broad survey led to our required diversity trainings, our HR
required diversity
policies.
training.
And Renee, you may want to speak more to this. And so we've really tried to, as Dr. Rose said, use this as a starting point and then really build.
I want to see their required
work.
diversity training. There could be mountains of gold on this YouTube channel.
We want to use this to drive the kinds of programs, policies, and practice changes that we need in order to eliminate the kinds of disparities. I'd ask Dr. Rose to comment on the use of underrepresented versus excluded. That's, I think, a very interesting point, and it's exactly to the point of the exclusion that individuals and communities face. And Tricia, is there something that you can share?
Thank you, Bot.
Well, I'll certainly try. Well, you know, there have been different terms developed to designate groups that have been historically excluded, and to distinguish them from groups that are perhaps lower in representation, but who have not been historically excluded. The government developed a set of linguistic, phrases, basically. And this notion of, historically underrepresented group is a federal designation, HUG. And that's what HUG means. When people say HUG, they mean historically underrepresented group. That does not mean everybody of color. That means specific groups of people who've been intentionally historically excluded. But we live in a country that is very uncomfortable with direct language around the politics of the action of racism.
Oh, for fuck's sake. This is the
we
University of
use a
California
very
at San
neutral
Francisco.
language, like
Please.
underrepresentation, which makes it harder for us to see, well, how did
I
that
want to look up
happen?
everything this woman has ever
Were they
done.
just not there? Why is it happening? And it's a really problematic.
That woman is going to be a
historical process,
nightmare.
But you find, I mean, even the word diversity, right, is about a retreat from affirmative action. So there's a long history as you study race, right? And that was one of my points, is that part of the solutions also have to be about knowing the contours of the history of race and how we've actually created a language that obscures it.
Oh, you're
at the
right.
moment we claim we're
She
solving it.
is.
So
You know what? She looked so much older in the picture than she does there. It didn't click with me. I don't know why this didn't click with me until right now. Like, it didn't occur to me that she was the same one that was in the slide from earlier, because she looked so much older in the slide than she does here. Holy shit. We need to watch everything this woman has ever done. She is Robin DiAngelo Part 2. She even has Robin DiAngelo's hair. We finally got rid of Robin DiAngelo, and now copycats. It's like when a copycat murderer speaks up, like pops up. Like there was a serial killer and that inspired like a copycat murderer. It's like Robin DiAngelo has inspired a million diversity directors with bad hair.
we have to know that that's happening so that we can, sometimes you have to call it what they need to call it. So I use hug when I have to use hug, but I know what I mean and I know what I don't mean, but someone has to teach us all that, right? Because then we solve things that we think we're solving things that we're just reproducing. So that's where hug comes from. And those are some of the warnings about why, why we don't use exclusion more directly.
All right, this question that we have. Oh, go ahead, Trish.
Can I use executive privilege here to ask Dr. one question? Dr. Rose, what would you tell members of our community that are not in these groups?
Yes, this is on their channel
today to this discussion and feeling kind of uncomfortable, but also feeling as though they don't have a role to play in this process, and that this is somebody else's issue.
Are we talking about white people or some other group of people? When you say they're not in these groups, like which?
Oh
which
my
groups?
God, I want to watch every training this woman's ever done.
Management, potentially.
Okay, so administrative.
This is what happens when I find a really amazing psycho in one of these presentations, is I then spend all weekend not doing the work that I actually need to be doing, but on watching all of the videos about this woman ever. Because I guarantee you, man, we find. But do you want to can you find this find this woman's YouTube channel for me? I don't want to put upon work on you, Bot, but I feel like I would spend all weekend watching this woman and just clipping this woman and being perfectly happy with that. Thank you. I appreciate you, Bot.
And then sort of maybe racial or other. Okay, gotcha. I'm glad I asked. I wouldn't have thought of that. So, my feeling about social change for any kind of justice is that we absolutely need everybody involved. But that's number one. It's extremely important that people who might feel that this kind of change is going to blame them or make them feel uncomfortable, that we have to encourage people to create spaces for them to do whatever learning or whatever participating that
I am a masochist. It's true.
To make that possible, because this is not something that's.
It's like watching dystopian fantasy.
You need, as you said, administrators.
It's basically like watching the Hunger Games.
Level, you need mid-range people. You need staff members. You need community members. Everyone has to be involved in these solutions. It's not one group versus another. It's really about how we would work collaboratively. But that will produce some momentary discomfort.
Bye, right? Jan. Have a good one.
The process of coming to terms with what has been created, whether you think you've actively created it or not, is really not the question. The question is, here it is. So what are we going to do about it? And that means we really need everybody. And sometimes it doesn't feel that way. People are angry. It doesn't feel as though everyone wants some groups of people to participate. So we have to be careful about how we do it. But we can't expect people who feel so aggrieved and who've been so harmed, whatever the particular hug group it is or other group is, and not.
I feel deeply aggrieved
by that pain, right? So it's figuring out how to deal with that and be a responsible, proactive member at all levels. So I think everyone has a role. Does that answer your question, Suresh? Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
And with that, we are at the end of our program. I want to thank all of our panelists and our attendees. Thanks very much and have a great afternoon.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Dr. Rose, so much, and
Thank
all
you
of
very
our panelists.
All right, guys, that is all we have for happy hour this week. I hope you had an enjoyable experience watching that little glimpse into insanity that is the University of California at San Francisco. And we're going to be doing some follow-up. Bot has found her name. Good. Bot. You can always count on Bot if you need information quickly. Bot is our chief investigative officer. Investigative. I can't even say the word. Investigative. There we go. Bot is the chief investigative officer at my community, and so she is the one that you can go to. Huh. That's interesting. YouTube just signed me out for some reason. Why did YouTube sign me out? Why would you do that to me, YouTube? Oh God, for fuck's sake. Jesus Christ. Bob, can you just DM me that channel? Because YouTube, for some reason, is giving me grief. I clicked on the link, and YouTube is giving me grief and is not letting me do it. All right, guys. So we do this on Fridays at 5 p.m. on my second channel, youtube.com/activelyunwoke. I hope you'll join us again. Again, I will be doing Socialism Saturday on our main channel tomorrow, or my main channel tomorrow. Robert, if you hate socialism, you are going to love Socialism Saturday, my friend. Socialism Saturday is when we watch the legitimate socialists. If you think that we just watch the socialists, no. The legitimate socialists are way more insane than the people we just watched. And we will be watching socialism tomorrow on my main channel. The link is in the description below, starting at around about 6 p.m. Get on your hammer and sickle t-shirt. We're going to listen to some communist music. And we are going to watch socialism. I don't know what we're watching yet, but I will announce it tomorrow. And thank you, Bot. I appreciate that. But guys, that's all I have for right now. Now, as a reminder, this is the final weekend for my Schools Exposed crowdfunding campaign. It is live on Indiegogo right now. We have broken $14,000. And I'm very grateful and appreciative for everyone who's donated and everyone who donates this weekend. $50 or above. Of course, all donations are welcome. I won't sneeze at any. And you can get perks for as low as like $10. But for everyone who donates this weekend, $50 or above, I will donate one scholarship for the Schools Exposed program to get someone into the program that may not be able to afford the $99 one-time fee that it's going to be when it launches. I do want to have a scholarship program for this to make sure that everyone can take advantage of it. I am training 10,000 parents how to find out what the schools are teaching their kids. I'm going to be building this program out. It is already funded. We are at 140% of goal. So it is funded. It is going to launch in January. And now any extra goes into a marketing budget and a budget to fund FOIA requests, which is really, really, really exciting because we do need to pay money for things. We need to pay money for technology. I need to make sure I can spend time with you guys, stuff like that. Do we have a Schools Exposed Instagram? Not yet, Gloria, but I will be hopefully launching schoolsexposed.com starting next week. And the website looks sick. I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's going to be rad. So guys, now is the last time to donate for the official crowdfunding campaign. There will be opportunities to donate after this. Don't worry, like it's not coming down or anything. Indiegogo has like a latent fundraising period that you can still earn money and stuff like that. So you aren't going to miss out if you can't get it done this weekend. But if you can't donate, and I understand that not everyone is in the financial position to do so. If you can't, but you believe in what I'm doing, please share it. Please share it out with your audiences. Please let them know what's going on. Please share it with parents. Please share it with your friends and family and on your social media sites. Help me spread the word. This only works if it's a grassroots effort, okay? It's not going to work as a top-down thing. We have to build it from a bottom-up thing. So make sure you're sharing it. Make sure you're spreading the word. I will send out more information tomorrow. And as Sin said, we are doing book club tomorrow. There's still time to read the Communist Manifesto because it's real short. Even like, look at that. Like the wording is so big in this one. You can read this in like an hour. Come join us in my locals and my Patreon community tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be discussing the Communist Manifesto, and then we'll do Socialism Saturday at 6 p.m. And how you can get invited to that is by becoming a member of my locals, kb.locals.com/support, $5 a month, $50 a year. Hang on, I'll even bring this up. There you can see $5 a month or $50 a year, or you can make a one-time gift. You can find that link in the description below. You can also become a member on Patreon. If you want a link to that, head over to activelyunwoke.com/support. I will be sending out the Zoom link for both, whichever is clever for you. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy your night. We'll see you soon. Bye.